So I hope everybody's having a great day. I know I am, and I got something I want to talk to you all about. In fact, I've made a decision. Now, sometimes when you need to make a decision, it's troublesome in your brain. You walk around and you think about it, and you just don't know. You just can't decide. You kind of think, maybe I should go this way, maybe I should go that way. I just don't know. I just can't decide. But when you make that decision, all of a sudden, it's like, boom. Oh, things are going to get exciting now. Things are going to change. Well, things are going to change here. Excuse me. And it might be a change some of y'all are happy about, and it might be a change some of y'all are sad about. But you know what? I'm still going to do it because that's just the kind of guy I am. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to start off by talking about this engine. This is a 53 Cadillac 331 cubic inch V8 overhead valve engine. It was made before the small block Chevy engines had ever been made. You could say it's kind of a precursor to those motors. I don't know. But it's a classic hot rod motor before anybody had small block Chevy motors to put into everything, which is what they do nowadays. They stick them in just about everything. This was the go-to motor. This and some of the Oldsmobile Buick motors, flathead V8 this thing had 100 horsepower more than the flathead V8 when it came out. This was the hot thing. The problem I've ran into all along, and I've got a lot of videos about how I engineered a manual clutch setup to make this engine be able to work with a clutch as a straight shift. Cadillac made a lot of automatic transmission vehicles. They didn't make a lot of straight shift vehicles. They made a few. They put them into ambulances and things like that, but mostly they didn't. So I engineered, using a hydraulic master cylinder from McLeod Racing Products, a way to make it work. And then I've had trouble with that cylinder. Now, I don't think the cylinders are bad. I just think they require a lot of care, which is not required if you're running an old-fashioned manual shift transmission. In other words, if you've got a clutch on the back of a small block Chevy engine, there's a series of levers and things of that nature, so that when you mash that, you are physically mashing the clutch. There's no hydraulics involved to go bad in that. The other thing about it is, even though this is a classic hot rod engine, it requires service and update. This engine was made in '53, so it's 66 years old, and I don't have deep enough pockets to do with this engine what needs to be done with this engine. And so I have just decided, in fact, I called Mitch last night. Mitch is the guy that bought my '55 Ford, and he had been asking me about setting up a Cadillac motor to go in a Model A, and he'd been talking to me about, how did I make it all work. And I called him, I messaged him last night, and I asked him if he just wanted to buy the whole kit and caboodle for about half of what I paid for the pieces and parts that went into this setup. And he said, heck yeah. I said, I'll even bring it to you if you pay for my gas. And he said, heck yeah. So what's going to happen is I'm going to sell this motor to Mitch. I'm going to throw it in the back of my truck, and in a couple of weeks I'm going to drive out to somewhere around middle New York, and I'm going to give it to him. I'm keeping the T5 transmission. And back here in the back of my shop, let me turn the light on back here so y'all can see a little bit. I have two Chevy small block engines. This one on this end here, it's a 1965 283 Power Pack heads. I believe it's got a 2-barrel intake on it, which is, a lot of people say, well, that's awful, but back in the day, we raced race cars, circle track racing with a 2-barrel, and they did awesome. Let me look here. That might be that's a 4-barrel. Okay, so that does have a 4-barrel. Okay, we're good with that. This one over here is a 73 4-bolt main 350. That's a pretty good engine there. That was the one that was originally in the Rambler. And this one I bought from a guy who had temporarily put it in a 62 Corvette while he was redoing his Corvette motor. I've got the bell housing that goes with this, which is its cast iron bell housing here, and this will receive the starter, the old style starter type that bolts to the bell housing. So basically I can take either one of these motors and rework it and attach it to this T5 transmission and put it in here. And there's going to be a lot of things I'm going to have to engineer. For example, I'm going to need some new headers. These Cadillac headers will not fit the Chevy. Cadillac had 4 cylinders, but 3 headers that came out, just like the old Ford flatheads. And the small block Chevy is going to have 4 pipes that come out. So I'm going to get some pipes that come out and go back here. And then there's got a plate so that you can open the plate or run it close, and a pipe that runs off the bottom so you can run your pipe down underneath there and run it out the back and put exhaust on it, which is something that I've run into some difficulty with trying to get it inspected with before. Most everything on this car is okay up here, but that exhaust is hard to find somebody that wants to put a sticker on it. The other thing I'm going to do is down in there, I've got this whole hydraulic clutch system set up, and that's all coming out. I'm not going to be using that. I am instead going to be engineering a mechanical clutch system that will not fail. That is my challenge, and that is what I'm looking forward to, because to be honest with you, it's more fun to be doing something cool with a car like this than it is just nursing it along, because you really can't afford to do the things you wish you could do with it. And to be honest with you, having that Cadillac engine, even though it's an honor to have it, and I've used it for 10 years, and I never even thought it would run in the first place, it's been awesome to be able to nurse along a valuable piece of hot rod history like that. I am ready to make a change. I am ready to go. What I'd love to use, and I'm thinking about using more than anything else, is that little 283, that little 283 engine. A lot of people don't think these engines are any good anymore because they're young and they don't have the experience. But when this engine came out, this was hot stuff right here. That little 283 with power pack heads. I've had these young boys say, oh, nowadays you can get an LS motor. Nowadays you can get aluminum heads. Nowadays you can get blah, blah, blah. Well, that don't mean doodly squat if you're old enough to remember when all that stuff didn't exist. This was the motor. I've seen people take a 283 like this and put it in the Chevy 2 and pop the front wheels off the ground with it if it's set up right. That's a high compression engine. That thing will do a heck of a job. It might not have the flow that you're going to get out of, something with big double hump camel heads and all that, but it will still, it's a high revving engine, and it will go, go, go. So, I'm not sure which way I'm going to go on this car yet. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the carburetor off that, because Nick has 6 one-barrel carbs. I think he got it from, I don't know who he got it from, somebody famous out in California that's into building cars, like Big Daddy Ed Roth or somebody like that. But he's fashioning up a Model A with a Caddy engine that's just going to be fabulous. But he don't need that Edelbrock, so I'm going to take it off. I'm going to take my alternator setup here off, because it's kind of made up out of various and sundry different pieces and parts. And I doubt if he's going to want to run that. And I don't know, maybe I ought to leave that on there, because to be honest with you, I don't know. I'll talk to him about that. Let's see if he needs that alternator set up. But this is going in the back of my truck. I'm going to gather all the Cadillac parts I got up in yonder and put with it. And in a couple of weeks, I'm just jump in my truck. I'm going to drive out to the middle of New York, give it to him, and come back. I'm going to take this nose and put it on this. I'm going to pop that drive shaft out so it won't be flopping around when I roll it. And I'm going to roll this out to that back shed out yonder. That way I'm going to have this free space in here to work on an engine. And I'm going to work on one of these Chevy engines right here and get it all set up and get as far as I can get along the way toward having it be good to go. And then we're going to put it in here. And it's going to be a lot of, it's going to take a lot of work to make it work. But you know what? We can do that. We can make it work. That's my plan. And if y'all are happy about that, I'm happy you're happy. If y'all are not happy about that, geez, I'm very sad that you're sad. But that's what I'm going to do. So, that's what I'm going to do. So, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to get started. I love y'all. Say hi to your mom and them. Don't forget to go to church on Sunday. And if you're not happy in the church you're going to, find one that's good, because they ain't all good. Some are better than others. That's all I'm going to say about that. See ya.